Well, it is a Friday morning. It feels good that we're finally here on Friday, huh?
Oh, yeah, you said that.
Feels fantastic. Hey, joining us this morning is Mr. Tom Uhlig. Good morning, Tom. How are you?
Very good, thank you.
Welcome to the program.
Thank you. It's my first time. I'm kind of excited and nervous.
Well, we'll put a nickel in the bucket, just like, what was the guy on KDKA used to do that overnight? First time caller, put a nickel in the can.
And Tom can help us break into that can, I think.
Yeah, I can do that.
Tom, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, by trade, I'm a locksmith. I have a locksmith company in Meadville, Uhlig Lock and Safe. I started in business in 1972 with my father, who started in 1938.
Wow.
So it's a family. It was a family business. So we've been around a long time. I have branched out into all areas of security, as well as access control and CCTV camera systems. We consider ourselves pretty much a full-line security company now. We're just not locksmiths. I've been in the Meadville area for just about 23 years now, and started this business like 20 years ago.
Wow. So growing up, did you have your mindset on doing something else with life, or did you actually look at what your dad was doing and say, "Boy, I'd like to do this"?
Actually, actually, I was a senior in high school when I decided to go to work with my dad. Before that, I was, my brothers, two older brothers, were college students, and they had their careers set, and I thought about go into college. I was more like into a sociology kind of a thing, but I didn't have the grade point average that my older brothers had. So my dad came to me, and my dad was 62 when I graduated high school. So then he came to me and he said, you're probably the last one that could take over this business, from me. And so I gave it a lot of thought, and I thought, well, let me give it a try. I said, I'll try it for 1 year. That was 44 years ago.
Wow.
But I enjoyed the very first time I started working with my dad. He was a great mentor. So,
it seems like today security is almost daily. There's some sort of story coming out about security. Has it always been that way, do you think, or do you feel like in the last couple of years it's really stepped up?
No, I think it has always been that way. Traditionally, because we're actually from down in the Pittsburgh area originally. I've been here, like I say, for like 20-some years. But originally we were from the Pittsburgh area. So in the urban areas, security and crime are much more prevalent than they are here in Meadville. And even back 20-some years ago, crime down in the urban areas was much worse than it is even here today in Meadville. But it does exist. So everybody wants to be safe. I always say, my saying is that a burglar is just an opportunist looking for the easiest victim. You just want to protect yourself well enough to not be so easy. Let your neighbor be easier. So as far as your gun safes, have a safe. Keep your guns in a safe, because that's the number one stolen item residentially.
Wow.
When it comes to residential break-ins, they go for the guns. They're the easiest thing to pawn, the easiest thing to sell. Jewelry is number two, but the jewelry can also go into that gun safe. So have some kind of, if you don't have any guns, still have a decent safe. And I talk about a safe, I don't talk about a fire-resistant safe. I talk about a burglar-resistant safe, and there's a big difference. A fire-resistant safe is great. I mean, they're great if your house burns down. A good fire-resistant safe that you could buy at Walmart, Kmart, you can buy them from us. We have them on the floor as well. They're a great safe for fire protection, but I always warn my customers, don't keep valuables in them, because they are not burglar-resistant. They can be pried open. People don't understand that. They think because it has a dial on it or a keypad on it that it's safe for their jewelry. It's safe for their cash. It's not. Be very vigilant on the product you're buying, that it cannot be pried open, that it can't be just broken open by somebody with the heavy screwdrivers or pry bars.
How true is it that you were talking about burglars being opportunists? Sometimes burglary and theft is prevented by as simple as just locking a door and making sure that that you close the door behind you and it's locked, locking your car door or what have you. If somebody's looking for an opportunity to break in, and if they try the handle and it's not open, they're going to move on to something else, as opposed to the idea that if somebody really wants something, they're going to find a way to get into it. How does that guide people in providing for their security of their homes, their cars, things like that?
Well, there's a lot of little tricks that you want to, like if you're talking residentially, because we do more commercially, but when you talk residentially, there's a lot of little tricks that you want to be aware of when it comes to your home security. And first of all, like for example, you never want to leave a ladder laying out on the side of your house. Okay,
Good, because mine's not laying out; mine's actually up to get.
See, now that's just, because the second floor is always available for opening. Okay, so there's just little tricks like that, like you say about not locking your door when you leave. And unfortunately, a lot of us in rural America, which I'll tell you what, when I left the Pittsburgh area and came here, I was shocked. It was a culture shock more so than anything else. And in the 20-some years I've been here, I wouldn't go back there in a heartbeat because the people, everything here is just so much more friendly and all. But still, we still do have the crime that we have to be very vigilant at our homes. Making sure that door's locked, making sure there's a deadbolt on that door. And a lot of times, and people don't realize this either, you check with your homeowner's insurance. If you have a deadbolt on your door, you could be entitled to a reduction in your insurance premium for your homeowner's insurance. The other thing is, if you buy a safe, and you keep your tax returns in it, it's tax deductible.
Really?
Yes. So keep that in mind. It becomes tax deductible. You got to keep your tax returns in it.
So I'm just guessing that people who go into the big box stores to buy a safe, they're not getting this information. This would be another reason to actually come into your store and have these conversations.
For sure. I mean, the thing is I'm a certified professional safe technician. If you have a safe, and I don't care what kind of safe it is, how secure it's supposed to be. If it's the banks, I do a lot of bank work. If you lose the combination for your safe, and you have to have it open, I'm the person you call. I'm the person that opens it.
You're like the real life MacGyver.
Well, except that I don't use clothespins and paper clips. I actually use real tools.
Okay. But if you were in a pinch, could you take a paper clip?
No.
No. Okay. All right.
No, that's MacGyver. That's television.
Okay.
Yeah.
But so you talk about really specializing in the commercial end. So what do you find are the big mistakes around here that people make with their businesses?
Master keys. A lot of the even the large manufacturing companies, the tool and die companies, they don't take their keying system seriously. I have one company in general that's a very large company, and pretty much the entire plant is on one key, and everybody, wow. And it's been on one key before I even came to Meadville. It's been on the same key, and everybody in town has that key. I mean, seriously. I mean, it's amazing. But this is a very large company too, they lose control. You got to have control. You got to know who has what key. If that person is let go, or they quit, or they retire, they have to turn in their keys, and their keys have to be accounted for. They should always be. I have companies that are very vigilant in that. that they do take care of their keys, their key system, their key control. We call it key control system. But where that's leading to today is away from keys and into credentials. Credentials, I'm talking about card access, proximity readers, where you have an online computer system that actually controls everybody who has access to a particular door. They'll have a credential, we call it, which is like a card access. And if that person leaves, all you got to do is go in, and in 5 seconds you just turn off their card.
Wow.
Unless if they turn their card in, of course you turn it off, and then you can assign it to someone else and turn it back on. But that way, like with a lot of commercial businesses, if it's keys and somebody leaves and they take their key with them, we got to go in and rekey all the doors. Where if it's card access, they only have to turn off that person's card. They don't have to rekey a bunch of doors. So the access control end of the business is becoming, it's becoming very competitive as well. There's a lot of companies out there that are doing it. I'm fortunate because I came in on the security end of it, and so we've been doing it for quite a while now. We recently acquired a firm down in Oil City, or actually Titusville, called Oil Region Security and Locksmith, and that's what their main forte was access control, surveillance cameras, and so forth. So that's been really a building point for our business.
This is the Morning Drill on Stream Television and the Allegheny News Talk Sports Network. I would imagine for you, then, it sounds like your trade has changed with technology. It's opened the door to a lot of situations for you. Do you look at that and get excited by that, or are there elements of having that key and the lock, I guess having that as sort of the main foundation to your business?
I have to admit that when, at my age now, and I'm in my 60s, adapting to the electronic end of the business was a little bit difficult for me, because teaching an old dog new tricks is sometimes not as easy as you would think. And I was very good. I'm probably the only certified safe technician in Northwest Pennsylvania.
Wow.
And so I do a lot of safe work, and I love my safe work. That's actually at work anymore. That's about all I do labor-wise. I have people that do everything else. All the regular locksmith work, the master key systems, the access control systems, all I do is the safe work anymore. But I believe, I know that if I wanted to sell this business someday and retire, if I don't stay up above the curve, I'm not going to have anything to sell. So I had to invest, and we invested a lot into continuing our growth into the other areas of the security business, the access control, like I say, the surveillance cameras. We had to continue to do that to be able to have a business that now in 3 or 4 years, I'd like to be retired now. But in 3
it also
or 4
sounds
years,
like you're having fun with this right now.
well,
too.
I am having a lot of fun, and I got a lot of great people. I really have a lot of great people that work with me, and I never say they work for me; they work with me. We're a great team, I do believe.
I wanted to ask you, a couple of years ago, I read a really fascinating novel, and I think it was based on real events, but it was called The Great Train Robbery. And it went into great detail about how this gentleman gathered a group of people to work with him. And it was in the days before safes had combinations. There was a time when safes apparently did not have combination locks. It was all keys. And they went into great detail about how these folks gained copies of keys and then used wax pads and such to make copies of the keys and stuff like that. I was just wondering, do you collect anything that is an example of years past, things like that, or is that sort of not something that you're into?
I don't have the room to collect a lot of the larger items like those old safes you talk about. But we do in the industry have a museum in Massachusetts. I'm sorry, it's not in Massachusetts. I believe it's in Lexington, Kentucky. That is for locks from the Egyptian era.
Wow.
The Egyptian era, the pharaohs out of Egypt, they're the ones that started locking systems.
Really?
Yeah, totally different from what we have today. But they started locking systems, and it wasn't until Linus Yale, around 1890, invented what we call the pin tumbler locking system, which is what is traditionally used today, even to this day. But a lot of what you read in novels and so forth, and they do break it down into detail. But a lot of it is still fantasy. And yeah, when I read a novel, for example, everybody always used to tell me you should go see The Italian Job, because the way they broke into this safe, Well, I just chuckle. I saw the movie. The only thing I liked about the movie was those little cars.
Yeah, me too.
Those mini Coopers. Yeah.
So Tom, what can folks expect when they give you a call? And let's start with the commercial side of things. If they say, "Hey, I just saw you, I heard you, and boy, I'm completely lost," can they call you to come in and provide a quote, or to just kind of walk the premises to get suggestions?
Yeah, that's what when it's a job such as that, a commercial job where they want a master key system or access control cameras, whatever. Yeah, we'll go in. We'd like to have a floor plan if they have one available. If not, we'll walk and we'll number each door. We'll usually open up the door, number the hinge if they don't have a floor plan. So this is door number 1, and then we'll make a note as to what we need for that door, what we need to do for that door, and we'll do it one door at a time. And we'll go through it with them, and we like to. We want to do a master key system so that each individual, let's say they have 100 doors, and they have human resources, they have quality control, they have accounting. So they want the manager of accounting to have one key that fits everything in accounting, but each individual in accounting has their own key for their own office. So what we want to do is we want to design the system in a key system so that each person carries as few keys as possible. We don't want to make every door different, and then the person that has to get into 10 doors has to carry 10 keys. So it's all sitting down. It takes a little bit of time and sitting down and then planning out the system.
And I'm sure if they had some sort of a schematic of the premises, you could look at that and say, "Oh, by the way, here's some trouble spots." That could become an issue.
Yes, one thing I've learned over my years is how to anticipate a future need or something that might be going wrong. So I have learned how to anticipate a customer's need, or if I think they're making a mistake on what they're wanting to do, I try to explain to them why we shouldn't do it this way, we should do it that way. That's something that I do try to do. But that's where the access control now comes into play, because it doesn't take all that planning. You put the system in on all the doors, and then you only give certain individuals access to those particular doors. It doesn't really take all the planning. If you have somebody that you just want to have access to like 4 doors, you go into the computer and you give them access to those 4 doors. That's all there is to it. If you wanted to have access to a 5th door later on, you just go into the computer, and like I say, in a few seconds, you've given them access to that door.
Wow, that's incredible.
So but access control. Now the thing is, access control, of course, is a lot more expensive, but it's really come down considerably in costs over the past decade anyway.
But if you think about the cost of continually rekeying doors, and
very true, losing control of your system, It's, you know, you lose control of your master key system, which happens all the time. I've been into many businesses, many buildings, and remaster keyed them every 5 years or less even.
Wow. Well, Tom, how can folks find you?
Well, they could call us. Our phone number is 814-724-2255. We're at 16325 Conneaut Lake Road in Meadville. We're just across from Walmart. Actually, we're across from Eddie's Footlong Hot Dogs.
Oh, that's the place.
Yeah, right. So, yeah. So we had my fill of Eddie's this year. Or they can get us online at www.uhliglocksmith.com.
Tom, it was a real pleasure meeting you. See, to me, you're the real-life MacGyver.
Well, Luke, I appreciate everything.
Oh, please come back. It was nice having you.
Thank you. I'd like to.
All right, excellent. Final look at news coming up next.